Hi guys, this is week 37 Project Life and it had to happen. I'm going to use all of She's Magic this week. That's all I'm going to use. When I bought this collection for myself, I did buy a few of the 12x12 papers, one of them being this cut apart sheet that has the 3x4 and the 4x6 cards in it, knowing that I would try to use it for a Project Life, and that's exactly what I'm going to do here today. So there are two 4x6 cards on that sheet. One I love down the bottom, it's got those sort of diagonal rainbow stripes, but the sentiment didn't actually work. So I flipped it upside down and I'm going to cover up the sentiment somehow. Half of my photo sort of does quite a good job of covering that up. And the other 4x6 card, I had flipped it upside down so that it had the sort of B-side pattern on it to use for the title cards, which I won't end up using. It sort of didn't really work. There's a lot of sort of springy colors in these photos. They're light and bright, and there's some blues and pinks, which works really nicely with the collection. And I mean, you knew it was coming. I'm going to highlight the pinks. So I'm choosing a different pattern paper from the 6x8 pads. I've got this one that's sort of striped watercolory, or this one here, which is just this really bright fuchsia pink, and it's got the really pretty holographic foil on it. And in the end, I do decide to go with that one. I love that watercolor striped paper, but I have used it before, so I want to use something a little bit different. So this is the basic layout for my my spread this week. I did use one of the filler cards that says I love you with my whole heart. It sort of matches the photo up the top with me and Lil having a nap. Quite a Lil heavy week this week, isn't it? 2 photos there, but I did manage to get me and Shane in there, so that's fairly balanced, I think. And I'm trying to balance out some of that pink with some blue as well. Now, I tried out a whole bunch of those frames and none of them really fit. I had another idea for a layout, a 12x12 layout, which was why I got the frames, and I was sort of trying to force them to work on this layout of the Project Life, and it doesn't really work. I didn't want to reprint any of my photos to fit the frames, and they're all just slightly too big to go on the 4x6s, so I'm just gonna leave it as it is. I figured a good jumping off point would be to work on my title card. I've sort of been just looking through some of the embellishment pieces, working out what I'm going to do, and I definitely want to use those iridescent white alphas for my title card. So I just, that's all I've got. I've got white alphas and a pink card, so I want to make something else on here, and I have been doing a little bit of happy mail lately and loving the sort of texture and dimension in some of those projects, so I figured why not translate that into Project Life. So I'm going to create a little paper ruffle here as a shelf for the title on my title card. So I've just trimmed down a strip of paper. I'm going to say it's about 1.5 inches wide. You saw me trim it. I can't remember the exact dimension. And I'm just really roughly folding some little accordion folds in here to create a ruffle. I just want to make it small enough so that it sort of fits on the 6 inches. I did leave the piece of the branding strip on because I quite like that look too, but the pink kind of gets lost on the pink background, so I'm going to end up trimming that off and just trimming into the floral pattern, just a little banner edge. And then I grabbed my sewing machine and I actually put some blue thread in my sewing machine rather than the usual white or black that's, just whatever's in there. I did go through my stash and try and find some blue just to add a little bit of color, a little bit of difference. And then all I'm doing is stacking my alphas on top, little shelf there, week 37. Love that these alphas come with numbers. Makes it so much easier for this sort of documenting. And then I'm just going to create a little cluster under here. I love the wee birds and the puffy stickers, so I'm going to add one there, a yellow one. Again, just trying to add a little bit more color to balance out that pink. And because I've put that really huge ruffle on there, I haven't really left myself any room to date stamp. I could have just stamped it along the bottom underneath the ruffle on the pattern paper, But I'm really determined to use one of these tickets. I love the ticket pattern. I've got the 12 by 12 paper, and I have this pattern paper from the 6 by 8 pad, which I thought I would use because they're all that little bit smaller. And I do trim out a few. I can't really decide how I'm going to put a date stamp on it. It doesn't really work. And then I noticed there's this ticket, which is almost more of a sort of like library card sort of style thing. It definitely has more room for date stamping on there, plus it's one of the super easy ones to trim out. So I trimmed the whole thing, but I'm just going to cut the top off it, and I'm gonna stack that on top of my paper banner. So I'm gonna do my date stamping just in some black ink on the top there. It's a little bit short, so I'm just being careful to partially ink things, and then I'm going to stick that down. Because that banner, the sort of ruffle piece, is a little bit taller, I'm going to add a tiny strip of craft foam onto the bottom of that tickety piece, just so it lays a little bit flatter, the piece that would end up being stuck onto the pattern paper. So I added some adhesive to both sides of it and stick it down, and then just trim the little bit of paper off. And I want to add to the wee birdie cluster a little bit more, so I added another puffy sticker and a couple of these enamel shapes, another one under the bird, and one just in between the week and 37, just to add again a little bit more color and bring in some of those blues. So super happy with that. It also gives me something that I can end up repeating 3 times. So I'm going to add 3 of these little birds to this page eventually, and just that gives me my visual 3 that I really like. So there's a couple of pieces I tried to cover up that sentiment on this card, and the lucky to be with you works perfectly. Could have left it plain, but I love these little coloured word stickers too, so I'm going to add a rainbow of them above and below the sticker, the chipboard sticker, sorry. So I'm just adding a couple down the bottom, and then I'll add a couple more up the top, sort of almost like creating a waterfall of sentiments. There's no journaling on this page, so the tiny word stickers almost just become my journaling. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this photo of my sunset. I'm going to add a chipboard, and there were so many that I could have added. I really did like this magic, except that there isn't a whole lot of text on this spread, just the really bold title, and I felt like putting that bold word down there sort of took away from the title a little bit, the week title. So instead I'm going to use this arrow sentiment. It's one of the chipboard stickers again, but to carry on that continuity, I'm adding one of the tiny word stickers underneath it and just layering those 2 on the darker portion of that photo so that they stand out really well. And this is where I'm adding my second bird. I decided to go with the bird theme, so I'm going to add a little pink bird there. And now I'm looking for my third spot, which seems obvious that it should be on the blossom photo. We had a couple of blossom trees at the back of our yard, and the birds do absolutely love them. So it makes sense to put that little bird up there, and it needs something to sit on, so I'm going to create a little shelf out of those tiny word stickers again as well. Just picking which colour, and I like the green one. It stands out a little bit more. It just brings out another wee pop of green. There's a few bits of green around the spread and yellow, and that just helps to have those secondary colours, so it stops being such a predominantly pink and blue layout. Last photo, I'm just going to add a couple of these tiny stickers to. And then I'm pretty much done. I did want to add one of these little hearts just above the sort of filler card that I've used to try and tie those 2 things together. So I'm adding the stickers so that they sort of relate to that filler card and draw your eye up into the photo of me and Lil. And that is this week all done. Love this line, love She's Magic, can't stop using it, and I'm super stoked to have managed to have popped it on a Project Life page. Love using scrapbook supplies on my Project Life. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. If you want to keep watching, there's a couple more videos on screen, or why not check out my Patreon page, there are even more videos over there. Otherwise, I'll see you guys next time. Bye!